want to draw attention, but I'm also aware for Johnny and Jackie at the moment as well. It's a extremely challenging time. Thank you for coming out today as well, guys. I know it's a tough time. Please don't leave without us getting our arms on you and praying for you, if that's okay, if you're comfortable with that. So Steve, are you up for just sharing?
Yeah, well, it's good to see everyone. I feel a bit like I haven't seen anyone for ages. I'll keep it short. I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, which has knocked the stuffing out of me. And kind of recovery time, I've been told, is sort of at least 6 months on treatment, which includes an awful lot of steroids, and to my surprise, chemotherapy as well. So they're just trying to get ahead of the disease, and but kind of the symptoms that I'm suffering are, I've got about 40% hearing loss at the moment, or 50% hearing loss, so I'm kind of deaf, which I really appreciate your prayers for, because potentially that's temporary, but also potentially it could not be temporary, which would be quite a challenge for what I do. And exhaustion, so tiredness. It's not unusual for me to sleep a couple of hours in the day. I don't know what else to tell you, really. Yeah, could be a year, could be more before I'm back up to sort of full strength, and it can come back at any time. Yeah, what have I missed? Can't think of anything really. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And the reason you haven't seen me around is because I've been told to keep away from crowds of people, and not to catch anything, because if I do, they'll stop my treatment, and then it all kind of starts again. So that's why I'm not around. But I'm still here. You can email me and phone me. I'm still alive.
And practically what that looks like from work, so Steve's obviously signed off. He's still employed. He's not being signed off indefinitely. We're just taking it from one doctor's appointment to the next, aren't we? Yeah, so, but that being said, like the other day we'd lost sound completely. Some of you who were on the PA would have picked that up, and that's where it's like, that's the Steve shaped heart. What do we do? So, but Steve was gracious and has been popping in and doing bits and bobs. So, if there are real emergencies, he's very happy, I suppose. Yes, yeah, he's very bored. I mean, the reality is I chat to Steve fairly regularly during the week, don't we? And Steve's just using his brain, and thinking still very much like, well, how do we make things smoother? How do we think about infrastructure moving forward? So he's still very much working from home and thinking it all through, which was good, because we just had work appraisals, and that was one of the things that we said, is that we need to look at short, medium, and long term. Which we'll talk about some of those, more immediate ones in a moment. So, it'd be good. Should we just? I think it'd be good actually. Let's take the moment here to just pray for Steve, to pray for Johnny and Jackie. If you're around near them, why don't you just get around them, and if they're happy with you putting a hand on them, please do. And I'll start by praying, but it'd be really good if a couple of others of us could pray as well. That'd be great. I'm just going to turn the mic off for that bit. do just keep us updated. If there's specific things we can be praying for as they come up. And like I said, thank you so much for coming today. I want to move into talking about some of the stuff that we've mentioned in the past around updating our AV system, about this whole worship tools thing. So we'll get onto that in a minute. And if you're AV, it'd be really great if you can hang around for 10 minutes at the end just so I can show you how it works. Hopefully you've seen the videos. Also, it's really great to have our younger team. Yeah, you kind of sat over there, gauging that. And some of these guys as well, with Steve before. Steve found out he got the autoimmune condition on a Monday night, have been up here as well, which you probably weren't aware of. So Steve's been sort of discipling and mentoring a load of young musicians. So we're slowly, hopefully, over the coming months, if you're a worship leader and you just want to kind of draw them into your band, just as an additional, musician to try and ease them in, we'll be doing that. And then hopefully in the September term, we'll unleash the next generation into the band fully. And not just on bands, so just to let you know who they are. So Rocco, who's fairly competent on guitar, that's Ginny's eldest. Zach as well, who plays drums. Erin plays drums, but she probably doesn't want everyone to know that. But Erin plays drums, and is fairly solid actually. Daniel is slowly learning drums at the moment as well. Lilla's slowly learning acoustic guitar at the moment as well. Ben is also learning guitar at the moment. So we've got a few newbies coming through. So guitarists, watch out. No, seriously, but it'd be great for us. I spoke about this a little bit last week when I was preaching, but we really want to create a culture of mentoring. So as those who are gifted guitarists, maybe think about how can you get your arms around the next generation and draw them in and get them to be thinking not just musically, but more about what it means to worship. And Steve's done a lot of that with them about the foundation, really, of worship. So before I get into all of this and talking about rotors and some of the challenges, I just want to throw it open really to the room to ask, how are you guys feeling? How are we feeling about worship at the moment? How are we feeling about tech? How are we feeling about the cohesion between the two? I mean, do we feel more like one team these days? Because I know that's been a big journey for us, hasn't it? It always felt very much the worship team and the tech team, but I'm hoping that we're starting to feel a little bit more all together. So just to throw it out to you, please don't fall silent at this point. Share how you are feeling. I mean, we've got, obviously, the in-ears was the last thing, and that was a challenge. How are we feeling about that? How are we feeling about stuff, guys? There's a new keyboard. Yes, Colin, thank you. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rambling.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the integration with the musicians and the AV team, sorry, not specifically AV, but all the people that do the stuff at the back, and it feels to me like it's working really well. I mean, it's great when you can come up here and just focus on the music. For me, as that's my role, and there are a bunch of other people that kind of know what they're doing and can just make things happen. Get it set up and do it. That really is very helpful. So thanks, guys. I've run out of words. Somebody else. Got to carry on now.
No, I would say that's really good. The one thing I will say, we've had some issues, and it's difficult to establish if that's your end or speakers or what. But I know we were talking about drums the last few weeks, and that's been. I don't know if that's a in-house thing. I don't know if it's an EQing thing. I don't know what it is. You were fairly convinced it wasn't an EQing thing this morning, but. Mm-hmm. Right.
That kind of thing, but I think it can set some equalize from that side. So it's about going through it and just seeing and then getting a common denominator. Because I don't know if everyone comes in and they're setting it a different way. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's where Steve's training that he did, I think, is really important, that we do all go back to default. and that we go through the process step by step, that we're not calling upon previous projects, that we try and take it through. We use our ears and go through the full steps. We'll talk a little bit more about training and about the previous training. How do we remind ourselves of those steps and stuff? I'm hopefully going to make that fairly simple and easy for us all, so that we can revisit that training regularly should we feel we want to. So, anyone else? Anyone want to talk about in-ears? How are we feeling about in-ears? I'm looking at you, Aidan, because I feel like, because, yeah. Just because I don't want to talk about it.
That's right. I suppose it's difficult to know where to go, because if I can just go straight to the elephant in the room here, and the tech, we totally and utterly appreciate all the work Steve's done. I want to just make that perfectly and utterly clear. But we frequently arrive for a rehearsal and it doesn't work properly, and we spend the first half hour trying to get everything to work. I know that's just hopefully just teething issues and it will work well. For me, in-ears, I just can't get on with them. I just can't get into the music when it's in my ears like this. Last week I played and I had no monitoring, no in-ears. I just listened to what was in the PA, and that actually worked better for me, to be perfectly honest, once I could hear what I was playing on the PA. And that feels, for those of us who are kind of old school, and I do emphasize the fact that that is one of the issues, we are old people. And we're kind of used really to playing in live bands with monitors and amplifiers. And so for us, working like this is a significant challenge. And I know that we don't want to be anchors on progress, but sometimes we do just get the feeling that maybe the tech is just becoming a little bit too important, and it's detracting from those of us who kind of like to be in the music and feel and worship in that way. So I don't want to give the wrong impression. Can I just say, this morning, the sound was great. I think it was louder than normal. The drums, to my ears, I'm obviously not a drummer, but the drums, you could hear them nicely. The sound was good. It was crisp, but it wasn't overpowering. I think when the PA is too low, all we can hear is the sticks hitting the plastic things, and that's really actually quite annoying, because we know that there are drum sounds in there, but we're just not hearing them through the PA. And I think that's a volume thing. And I do, as you know, we've gone through this. Some people like it so quiet you can't hear anything at all other than the person singing out of tune behind you. And then those of us who are sort of more kind of rock people, we like to, hear the music and not a lot else. Because for me, I'm not a great singer, and so I don't actually like to listen to my own voice. And if the music is loud enough, I can find myself able to sing and worship in that way in a congregation and really kind of get drawn into the music. And if the music is so low that all you're hearing is the people around you, then that just puts me off completely, and I'm just not in that place one little bit, and I just want it to be over. So I don't know if any of my colleagues want to.
I would just back that up, actually, because in my experience, if the front of house level is too low, the congregation won't sing because they'll feel exposed. So I think it's quite important to have the front of house actually louder than you think it should be, and then people be encouraged to sing over it rather than hearing their own voice. People don't like to generally hear their own voice.
Just as an aside, I do find it very difficult to engage with the rest of the musicians when it's coming through my in-ears. I've tried one ear on, one ear off, which seems to help, but even so, I just seem to be as if I'm in a different room from everybody else, and I find it difficult to get to grips with everybody.
Yeah, I kind of sympathise with that, because I suffer the same thing a bit. But on the whole, I'm quite happy with the in-ear thing. I can't get in-ears actually in my ear. My ear canals are really narrow. So I've had to give up on those, and I usually have those big cans. But despite that difficulty, it on the whole works quite nicely. And the reason I find it's quite nice is I can actually hear myself play. Once I get the levels adjusted, I can actually hear the subtleties of the playing, and so it feels like you can do things that you can't do without that. And I suppose on balance, I'm pretty happy with the headphone approach. because the only alternative is like all the other bands I play in, where you've got amps on your, you know, something jacked up in the air and that kind of thing, and it's quite hard to get that, because the sort of space this is, it doesn't lend itself to that very well. But yeah, so there we are. It works okay for me, I think.
I would say that the one thing I actually love using in-ears, I use them in live gigs out in the real world as well. But what I would say is that as a musician, when you're reliant in this situation on in-ears, it's quite, you have to put a lot of trust in the sound engineers at the back, because you can have it absolutely perfect in your own ears, and then there's nothing worse than when you finish the service and your wife comes up to you and goes, well, that sounded dreadful, you couldn't hear anything. And you go, well, it sounded amazing in my head. So, yeah, from a musician's point of view, it's quite difficult putting 100% of your trust in the person at the back to do their job, because we've got our own mix. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aidan, you know, quite rightly said we might have little bit of a generational challenge. I think that's probably quite a lot of it. What I would say, I think, is not having live monitors on the stage has dramatically improved the sound for the congregation. So obviously that's one of the things that we want to do. It also will improve what goes out online. But one other little thing that I've been thinking about, I just want to raise this while we're having a conversation about it. It was true this morning with Andy's playing. So Andy was the only acoustic instrument on the stage this morning. So it makes noise in the room by itself without any being plugged in. So when the sound engineer mixes the sound, he compensates for what's already in the room that's coming out of the sound hole. So therefore, there is less of him in the speakers and less of him online. So if you go back and listen to the online service today, you can hear everybody but Andy. So I've been thinking about this. I'm not the competent guitarist in the room, but I have ordered a bung, a thing that goes in your sound hole to reduce the amount of sound that comes out of the acoustic side of my guitar, just to try.
How should we deal with the singer as well?
Cotton wool. Yeah. So I've ordered one. They're £5. I'm going to try it. If it works, if it helps, that means there'll be more of Andy or me or whoever's playing the acoustic. Yeah, cotton wool, he said. Yeah. So it means that it will take away some of the natural acoustics of the guitar, which you might love, but it'll all be on the electric side of the guitar and come out the speakers, and therefore that will flow into the online. It'll either work or it won't. It's something it hasn't come in the post yet, so I'll tell you about that later.
Yes. What do you reckon? Yeah, no.
Thanks for the level of sound this morning. Yeah, that was good. So I just want to explain from the back as well. So for us guys sitting on the back, we have to be quite sensitive to the room as well. So I know we've got a gentleman that had to leave the room today, but it was one person. Everyone else was engaging, and I firmly believe, I firmly believe that from the back you can actually, and with you guys, you can actually lead people into worship. So it's about getting those levels right and people feeling free to do what they need to do, but then also being very sensitive to the room. I mean, I saw him leave. I knew he left, and I was like, well, I can't change it today. So, but just to bear in mind that we've also got those sensitivities. So.
I think it's important to note that individual, we're all aware, well, most of us are aware of that individual, and that individual recognises themselves that, this isn't, it can't be quiet the whole time, and that's something that he's, as a result of his previous work and all of that. So no. So it's it's basically exactly. So and he's aware that we know that, and he wouldn't want us to change, for him. That's something that he's got to work through. So it is a very, very important point, though. If we don't get the right level, and it's got to be the right level, it can't be so loud that it's killing people, but it's got to be loud enough that the music travels. So I think that's probably one of the most important things. But we also recognise, for all you guys who are tech, you probably got the hardest role out of everybody, because we're all in your hands, number one, and two, you're never going to be able to please the whole church. And so what I'd say to you is thank you, and if people are complaining about level, let me know. I can graciously go have a conversation and explain to them why it needs to be at a certain level. And secondly, what I would say to you guys, are you guys comfortable with us as musicians, raising things? Say, for example, I'm out there on the morning and I'm thinking, I can't hear the drums. It's okay for us to come to you, isn't it? And just say, hey guys, I said it to Warwick the other week, actually, didn't know, Warwick, could you just crank up the bass a bit? And it was like, oh yeah, there it is. So, we're all here to help one another. And no one's going to take offence in that. In the same way that if you turn around to me and said, Andy, your guitar sounds completely out of tune, or sometimes it's like, you haven't put the minor seventh in there, Andy, from certain, musicians who've got a better understanding than me. It's okay to do that, and it's okay for us to say, sorry, I wasn't aware. Can you help me? Because that's how we sharpen one another. This is about family. This is about us. Yeah, sharpening and growing in our gifts, and that's only going to happen through us talking. So what I would say in those challenging areas, let's keep the dialogue going. And I do want to recognise what you've said there, Aidan, with regards to it. There is the hybrid. I think what you said there around, just taking it out and listening to the room, there's been mornings where it's stripped back, and I'm thinking, I can't be bothered to plug the in-ears in. I'm not going to put a monitor on, it's going to be too quiet, it's just me and Ginny. And so we've just pulled out and we've listened to the room, and it's enough. It's enough, actually. Yes, so I would much prefer that than driving a monitor on the stage. But, if that's what you need, to enable you to go in, it's fine, we'll manage it. But just keep the level down so that the sound guy's got the upper hand. And we've already established they've got the hardest job. So that's some of the challenges. Let's raise the other elephant in the room. Oh, sorry, go on, Fergus.
Two things. One is that sometimes you've gone to the practice and then when the service starts, it's like it just starts. The volume level is lower from. Well, I think it's because I think it's genuinely lower, and you're thinking, well, is that what they want? Is that what they want? And so you can start off quite quiet, and then as it gets going, it lifts. But I think some thought into how you start, and knowing what that volume is meant to be, and communicating it would help. This. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And the second thing is that there is this. We got the speaker here. If you're actually in the front row about here, you're getting the sound more directly. You're hearing it from that direction. The sound's arriving first, and I quite a few times thought, wouldn't it be useful to actually have something like a column type, the sort of speaker thing? But no. I mean back. No. I mean to have sound projected out, because that would mask things like the sound of the because if you hear someone hitting that, because the timing is, you hear it slightly earlier, you can't properly mask it from the speakers. Yes. Well, it's.
I do think there is a bit of a sound hole, actually, for when you sit near the front. You got that speaker there pointing that way, that one pointing that way. There's actually nothing for this big group in the middle. And I've noticed it when you sit over to one side, you can hear loads. You sit right in the front row, you don't hear it. sit at the front. Or could we have a speaker up here that's actually picking up?
Yeah, there's a lot of technical challenges with the room and the shape of the room. What tends to happen is you've got a preacher standing here with the microphone on. If there's a speaker there, we all know what's going to happen. I've contemplated having a speaker there that is music only, so the preacher is eliminated from that speaker. That's a concept that I've thought about and we haven't tried. We've also recently... Yeah, but then it's ugly and it's going to get knocked with a football on a Monday night and so on and so on. We've put 2 new lighting bars in just before Christmas, and I've been contemplating whether that's a more central place to have a central speaker. But again, it's all thoughts in progress. If anybody wants to chip in with their ideas about where I magically fly a speaker in the middle of nowhere, I'm open to offers.
And that's part of parcel of what we're saying about short, medium and long term with regards to infrastructure. But yeah, if you've got ideas, chat to Steve, and we'll explore it from a point of view of budget. And we want to enable as many people as possible to be able to worship. So the other elephant in the room, you've probably heard me at the front countless times saying, if anyone would like to come and join our tech team, which we thought we might have had one person, didn't we, Alan? And then they bailed. But we have got a few extra young people come forward. It's amazing, actually. It's the young people who are stepping forward, which is great for the next few years before they go off to university. Like Warwick will be heading off at the end of this year, and we'll lose Warwick. So, Warwick's grown, but hopefully he takes that skill with him to, serve in another church. But we do have, we've got Ben who's keen to come and learn a bit of OBS in the next term. Who else am I thinking? Oh, Ruben as well. Ruben was talking about coming and doing a bit of AV. So we've got a couple of other young people. And Liam was exploring the sound side of things. So we probably ought to I need to probably have a formal conversation with John and Gabby to actually explore how we bring him in, and maybe it's, when you're on, Wayne, that you can, so great. But actually do that in a bit more of a formal way and maybe come along to rehearsal. So that's 3 young people, isn't that? That's good. But, this is, and the wonderful Keith came up to me he cornered me in the cupboard the other day and said, if you need me to do a bit of PA, so you'll see he's back on PA for a couple, which, Keith, we're so thankful for that, seriously. We'll make sure that you get to play electric guitar the weeks you're on. Although he play a mean bit of bass. So, okay. Yeah, so when you're on together, yeah, he prefers bass. Yeah, okay. So the big hole really, and the ever faithful Derek, who's even at the back on his own at the moment. Everybody cheer for Derek, because he's even filming this for those who can't make it. That's the real hole at the moment. Is back there. Obviously, Dan's doing one, and as I said, Ben will be coming on. There's a couple of sessions where I'm just going to have to try and jump in. But what we actually said, we don't want to cut. It's probably the one area that we're saying, well, do we have to do it? If we haven't not got the resource, and Steve and I, we've gone around the houses with this 2,400 times, haven't we, about, well, if we've not got the resource, do we do it? Do we scrap it? What do we do? But actually, we've noticed that, and through conversation, it's been the lifeline. We heard Lynn this morning, who's not been at church for, a year and a half, and for her it was a lifeline. You've got the Vax, who are at home. It's a lifeline for them. It's the only way they have connection with the church family, and then of course people do go in and visit them. But so we feel it's important to try and keep it going. But what you were saying earlier on, is the tech actually overriding things? Possibly. And so I think we've come to a point where, and I was having a chat with Derek the other day via email, and I think we kind of come to a place that's like, if you set a camera wide, just kind of on the front, and that's all there is for the morning, that's all there is. And we'll keep it going, and we'll serve through that You right there, Daniel? Do you want to put your phone away, mate? Whose was it? Oh, it's your watch. It's the tech, see? We live in a tech world. Next generation, trying to serve. No, so we're kind of at that point, is what I'm trying to say to you. It's like, you know what, if it has to be just, we strip it back and we just go with a single camera, we'll do that until we can get people in place. So that's kind of probably where we're at. But if you know of anyone, or if you're having conversation, those of you who are life group leaders, like, you know, Keith, Babs, you know, and others, or in your life group, and you're just having conversations with people, like, and you're gauging, like, they want to serve, like, there is training. Like, we keep saying it, we will train people. We'll do it one-to-one, we'll do it in small group, however they want it, we'll give it. And I think the thing that helps me all the time when I'm talking to other people about this is, like, you know, there was a time when I didn't know how to play guitar, and I decided to start and to learn. And I think that's the kind of mentality we need to help people with when it comes to tech as well. Like, you can learn it, you can pick it up. I mean, think about Steve's story that he was telling about, you know, that lady who he was thinking, what, no chance. And then she became the leader of the ministry. So, yeah. So, I guess what I'm asking of you, and particularly as I'm aware that we're all entering into a new day, you know, on the back of what we've heard today, you know, Phil's last address before they take a break. I'm going to have a lot. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to have a lot on my plate, and I'm pleading to you and asking you guys, can we all play our part in that, and to just feel around and move around the room and find out where those gifts are, and to encourage them and just invite them along. It might be that we start by saying, hey, do you just fancy going for a coffee? You know, let's just have a chat about it. But it'll be good to kind of keep those ministries strong and growing. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah.
I think a good point you just made there is that when you are the church leader, you are going to have a lot on your plate. At the moment, you are the worship team leader as well. Is there room for, and I'm not saying me, because the answer is no. Is there room for someone, and again, you're going to have to get a volunteer to actually take over a leadership role within the whole of the worship team?
Yeah, thank you for addressing that. At the moment, no, is the short answer. And you have to be aware, so yeah, I'm moving into a church leader role, but I'm not picking up everything that Phil did. So you have to remember, Phil was the financial overseer of the church as well. So I'm only picking up a small part of that. So I'm working to my gifts in the same way that he's working to his gifts. I think for this next year, we're not going for any massive changes. I think it's about, you know, being faithful to what Phil and Shirley have put in place. I think we're a church family. We've got our values. We've got our culture. We're going to be stressing in on certain areas of growth, particularly around discipleship and stuff like that. So anyway, that's an aside. So to answer your question, I think for the next 12 months, I think let's keep it as it is. And I think, you know, just be on me. If you're thinking, Andy, we really need to get together and stuff, I'm trying to think about the year this week anyway. I've already made some notes about when I want to do strategic dates. So hopefully we can keep it going. I think longer term, beyond the year, I want to start thinking about who is succession. Now, Steve and I have obviously had chats around that, around Steve. He's picked up elements of not just the kind of technical side of worship, but training the next generation and things like that. There's so many unknowns at this point, so that's why I don't want to make any commitments just yet. I think we need to see how Steve gets on with his health, see how we get through these kind of next 6 months, all of us, and then we can keep on having conversations. But I will keep you updated, is what I would say on that. Okay? It also enables, I think, with me overseeing worship, to be overseeing services as a whole, and to enable that we're getting that whole culture running through the whole life of the church. Is that okay? Are you guys happy with that? If you feel that's not right, then come and have a chat with me, and you know, or if you think that there's elements of that you would like to pick up, you know, this could be a shared responsibility. I'm really happy for that as well. But I have to say, my heart's in worship massively. And when I was chatting it through with the elders in my work review, I said, you know, have I got to step down from worship? And they said, we think that would be really silly because it's your gift. So I'm trying to step down from other areas. So my focus will be obviously primarily on teaching, and with the rest of the preachers, and we've got some excellent preachers, one to my right here, but don't tell him I said that, but he's pretty excellent. And no, seriously, we had a good time as preachers, didn't we, the other night, chatting. We're really blessed. So that's where my energy is mostly going to be, but it will also be in worship leaders. So I'm trying to pull back from the tech side, so that I'm not stepping in. And that's why I'm saying, really, I'd much rather, if I'm the only person to step in on that week, we'll go wide with the camera. Okay? So, any other questions in relation to that? Good. Okay. I'm aware of time, so let's move on. Everyone's seen the rota for this next quarter? I approached it and I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And actually, as I went through, I was like, oh, the Lord has provided. So we're okay there. There is one change that will be coming. Georgina can't do the week that I put her down for, but that doesn't affect anyone here. So if you're on the 7th of May, Ginny, with me, then we'd probably all get together next week. But other than that, we're going to be moving into the Sermon on the Mount, as I said, so that really enables us to kind of look at a response to our culture and how we live out our faith in the culture we find ourselves in today, what it means to be the people of God at times such as this. It should encourage us as a church as we remember again afresh in this new day what it means to be God's people, and particularly from a missional perspective. So if that helps you in your preparation. So the next thing's really about tools, and I'm aware tech, it's tools for some and it's a nuisance to others, so apologies if it's a nuisance. What we're trying to do, and this kind of comes in line with just that kind of synergy across all of us about that bringing us all together as one team on the Sunday morning and literally singing off the same hymn sheet, literally, which sometimes is the challenge when you've got one version in there, musicians have got another version, the worship leader's got another one. I'm hoping it minimises, and particularly with regards to the fact that we've got a smaller tech team, it's about serving them. I'm also aware that some of us have moved our rehearsals to Sunday morning. I'm going to confess that's probably me, because I'm out multiple other evenings of the week. Again, John, he's precious time with his boy at the moment before it all changes fairly soon. So this is just about helping us when we hit the ground on a Sunday, that we're all ready to go and we know what we're doing. And I do stress the point that Fergus made. If you're a worship leader, try and convey to your team ahead of the rehearsal roughly where you're going. Guilty, I didn't do that this week, so apologies, guys. And again, likewise with AV and with the sound guys, so they get a bit of an idea about where we're going, so we can all hit the ground. So this software is, put your hand up if you've not seen it at all yet. Not Alan and Vicky. You're the two people who you're the two people who really need to, but it's okay. You can stay back after class, okay? No, so it won't, and that's one of the things I need to go through. So I'm aware that it all depends on what permissions you've got. I'm obviously full administrator. Some of you will just be a user, so it may look different. But the format is there's three pieces of programs, and they all work in synergy together. So you've got planning, you've got presenter, and you've got music stand. Planning is the planning end. So if you're a worship leader, if you're a service leader or a preacher, when we come together, we usually chat through the service, and we would use it to kind of write it on a piece of paper or type it up. We're still doing that, by the way, guys. I think it's important that we send out an order of service on paper copy as well. But what happens is within this program, you can then create your service. So on the left-hand side, you'll see you've got services, and then in services, you can create a new one by going in to create a new one. I'll just draw up the one from today. You can see how it works. And then in here, you can just add a header. So header would be something like welcome, family time. And then within those as well, say, for example, you wanted to make a little note for the AV guy that we've got a new video. You can just add it in there. and you'll see it's got a new video. So they'll be like, okay, what's new video? Andy, tell me, what is this new video? It's not up here. But it also gives you the capability of being able to add that item in, so you can add in the video if you wanted to, even at planning stage if you've got it. Anyway, we'll talk that through a little bit more. I'm trying not to overwhelm you, because if you're not a service leader or a worship leader, you don't need to know it. So, but I'll chat to worship leaders and service leaders separately. The best way to do this, and some of you have already been in that environment, is when we're in a planning meeting. The good news is with me being service leading, preaching, or worship leader, I'm kind of down most weeks. So it means that during those planning meetings, we can go through it a bit more together, and I can show you, rather than boring all of those of you who don't want anything to know about it.
Andy, I've been trying to check the stuff for next week because I wanted to get started with it. There's nothing up there. Whose responsibility is it to put up the service, to create it and put everything in there so we can see?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be the service leaders. Next week's a little bit different in the fact that we have planned it outside of a standard planning meeting. We've kind of done it periodically, so it's on me. I will get it up on Monday for that one. But yeah, generally it's the service leader working with me until they're in a place where they're confident that they can then do it. And the ideal place to do it is to do it in the planning meeting as best as possible. Then the worship leader would go in and then make sure, once they've worked out what keys they are, to put them in the relevant keys, okay? And then at which point that then gets sent out to everybody, okay? Sometimes in the planning meeting, you know what key you're going to do it in, and others you don't. And of course, it can go out, and then if you change the key, you change the key. And if we're all using it, then it will come down in the right key anyway on the morning. Yes?
From a worship leader point of view, because we've been working on this for a while, and so a few of us have been using it for months. So when I'm looking at my potential list of songs, which might be more than I need, that I'm coming to that meeting with, I don't really care that no one's started the service planning yet. I've started it myself and given it a name, maybe a week or 2 weeks before the meeting, just because I'm thinking through the songs. It doesn't really matter, unless you disagree with me, it doesn't really matter who starts it, as long as the name is the right date. We come to that meeting, and then we can all see it. Everyone's already can see my potential list, and then we shuffle things around, and we take that one out, and we put that one in, and so on and so on. So that's my particular take on it.
That's really helpful, and I think that, and of course for Steve, he's confident with it, so that would make sense. And I hope as we go further down the line and worship leaders become confident with it and service leaders become confident with it, you can have that organic approach. And I know straight away when I go into services on here, he says, going into services, I'll be able to see who has done them. You'll notice there's a 30th of June there. That's a tester. It's not the 30th of June, so that'd be... Okay, so, and likewise, you can go back through and see the history. So, say, for example, Ginny, you're on leading in a couple of weeks' time, and you're thinking, I want to do X, Y, songs, and then you might be like, ooh, didn't Andy sing that only last week? Well, you can check it. So, so the other reason for this, and using the software, is one of the most grueling jobs, administrative jobs, throughout the years has been logging what we sing with CLI. This does it for us. Hallelujah. So that's another reason for it. Utilising and enable the team, therefore, to have a bit more time to do the things which we would rather be doing, rather than logging. So how this works is, as I said, you create your service, and let's go back into the 23rd. Let's go come in and go into the 23rd. And so you can see there's your order of service for today. You'll be able to see literally there. We've even got, Be Strong and Courageous, the video. And then when you go as the user into Music Stand, there you go. You've got all your songs. Both. So if you're on your laptop, good point, thank you. If you're on your laptop, which I can't show you because I'm on a tablet, but you got yours? Yeah, it's web-based as well. Yes, so that brings us to the next point. If you're going to log on, Steve, what would you rather them log on to? Would you rather them log on to this one? Or are you going to... Yeah.
There's going to be some changes in IT soon to try and stabilise some things, but I'm a little reluctant to give out the code for that one just yet. So I would go with the normal one. And if you've got problems with that, talk to me. It doesn't work. It's going to work soon.
Yeah. That's the issue I had last week.
Can I talk to Andy about this and check that he's okay for the reason is that when Andy and Phil used to try to operate the system with their iPad, it kept disconnecting. So we gave them a dedicated router just for them, and now what we want to do is give that out to only people that absolutely have to know. It does not go out to the congregation. So I'll talk to Andy and maybe we'll send an email.
We will get it sorted though, and I think that's the main point. Communication. If it's not working, you need to let us know so we can get it fixed. Okay? But to answer your question, if you're on the online one in planning, so this is actually online, you'll see right here there's one that says music stand. You click that. It will ask me, do I want to open the app or continue on the web version? And you can actually run it on the web version. So there it is. That's exactly what you see on your PC. Yeah. Okay? And you can obviously have it, this way, or you can have it that way. Yes. That's correct. That's correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That being said, sorry, out the back, we've got a few extra tablets and iPads as well. So we will be probably in the near future installing it on a couple of those as well, so that there is that ability.
And if you happen to have an M2 Mac, you can run the iPad version in.
You can. Now you're just showing off. So, yeah, sorry, go on. Mm-hmm. Yes. No. Yeah, which is why we're saying we want to come up with a solution on that. One of the things we're aware of as a church, look, we're on a residential line here rather than the business line, which we've realised is limiting us quite a bit. I think moving forward, which will be not till March 24, I think is when our current line rental with BT runs out. We'll come up with a solution before then. Don't worry, we won't have a panic about it. And guys, just to say, go online, check the app, and use Power Music in the meantime if that's where you want to be. But just check you've got the right version by going into the app in the initial space. Go on. And then pass to Steve, if you would.
Those of us who are used to using Power Music and who are old, Power Music works every time without fail. It's all downloaded onto whatever device you've got. I can see what Colin's coming from. This is another level of tech that can go wrong. Okay, I'm being very cynical. Yes, I apologise. I noticed that you're using song select versions, and I also noticed that on one of the ones you showed, some of the things were crossed off and it was annotated. Are these going to be the absolute, that one, for example? So, that's just me. Okay, so are these versions I Stand Amazed, for example? If someone plays it next week, are they going to use that version that's already here, or are they going to put their own version on from Song Select?
So it's down to obviously the worship leader.
Yeah.
So in this case, I've downloaded the Song Select. Sorry, it will affect. So I've downloaded the Song Select version that I want. Now, next time if I open up this one next time, it will keep all my notes on it. So the same as it does for your independent power musics. Now, next time, Johnny and Jackie might want a different variation of it, then they'll download their version. So it could change, yes.
I'm just thinking. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I don't really want to be negative. I'll just see problems. That's all. If I'm playing the acoustic guitar and that's in B flat, and it's up there in B flat because that's the key that Johnny on the keyboard is playing it in, or whatever, I want to change that to A because I don't know how to play B flat on the acoustic guitar, but I do. But I mean, it makes this really difficult. So I'm going to put a cap. So that was my. You can.
You tap the top, and then you go to the key. Tap the key. Select A. Press OK. And if the worship leader does it, it will happen for everybody.
But if you want to do it as an individual,
Yes.
you can do it as an individual. Right. So that's great. So that solves that problem.
Okay.
The third thing is that those of us that are used to using power music, I can't see that we can't carry on using it, provided we get into the habit of checking what the worship leaders put up there and make sure that the version is that acceptable? Yeah. Okay. So until because when you get to 60, like I have, changing to something that like this, it takes a while. You know, with like one of these youngsters, they do it in an instant.
So let me stress, the planning to the presenter side is the most important reason why we're doing this. So this is about planning. It arrives on the AV machine. Okay, so the same way it arrives down a music stand, the whole service will arrive as a order of service on the presenter side. You guys don't need to worry about that. I'm going to show these guys what that looks like. It basically looks like what I've just shown you in the planning. It all arrives and the songs are there and the words are there and it's all ready to go for them. And then all we have to go through is think about backgrounds. You know, if there's a PowerPoint to be brought in, they can bring that in as well. That's another reason why we're going to it. It was driving us bonkers as those who preach that we couldn't use PowerPoint. So, yeah, go on. No. It might do if we do it. I haven't done full test. It might do if you put it in as a text. That's just a drawing on top. So, yeah. So if you do it as a text in a text box, yeah. Hang on. Go to Martin and come to Steve.
Is there a way of getting the score rather than the chord sheet?
Yes. So there is, and I think you asked that. Who asked that question? Someone asked that question. I sent them the email. I think I sent you the email, because you asked about it, I think, a while back. So, yeah, there is. And an email was sent out to the team on that. I'll re-find it and send it across. But, yeah, it is possible to bring the score in. You just bring it in. So, likewise, guys, if you've got all your lovely notes in Power Music and you did want to give it a go, you could download your whole catalogue and import it all in. But that's... No, you could. So you would have to download them as a PDF, but then you could import them in with your notes. So, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, sorry. It's just to go back in time to the question about if you're using your laptop on the web. When you go into Music Stand on the web, it caches the entire thing. So I had to question myself and try it because I didn't want to give you wrong information. I've switched my internet off. And it works just fine. So I'm not connected to the web. So it does remember. So if it's catastrophic and you lose the web, it's not a problem.
So we found this morning, didn't we? Because it downloads it, and I guess therefore it caches it at the same time. Okay, so hopefully that brings an added bit of confidence, which is why I said it's never failed me, even when I've had internet issues. So that's that on the music side. But as I say, the real reason for this is more for the AV side. So the AV guys have got, I mean, amount of times Alan said to me, oh, I've got the wrong version. So, hopefully you'll never have to have that sigh again, Alan. That's the hope. As long as the worship leader gets it right. If we say we got the wrong version, then it's on us, isn't it? And the other reason, as I say, is so that we get that auto update to CCLI. So that's the main thing, which leads me into something else. Johnny and Jackie will know, because I spoke to you about 5 years ago when I first came, and one of the things I really wanted to do when I first came was do some training. And I just had to get my feet under the table, and then I did Moorlands, and then we hit a pandemic, and then we come outside the old pandemic. I'd really, really want to do some training. Put your hands up if you came to, in Poole, way back, must have been 3 years ago, when we went to EMU Music, Word on Song. So way back then, we went for training. I thought it was a really, really good day, really, really kind of on point with where we're at as a church when we're starting to think about theology and song. We've spoken a lot about this. Some of you guys know some of the wrestling I've been doing, and we'll talk about that at a further date around, theological singing, good theology, and also the parallel between that and ethics, and what do we do with things like controversy with Hillsong and Bethel and all that sort of stuff. What do we do about that? We're not going to talk about that tonight. We'll tackle that at a further date. Sorry, because I'm still wrestling it out myself. But I really wanted to find some good training that we could all do. And this isn't about training with regards to musicality or any of that stuff. This is about heart, okay? Because first and foremost, you could be the best musician in the world, but if you're not a worshipper in your heart, well, then what are we doing? And I start thinking about the hours and hours I put in, like when I was in a band, like you would meet for 4 times a week and jam, and and I'm thinking, do I do that in my worship? Do I really stop to take time to wrestle out stuff with God, to think about my personal growth, to think about musicality? And I would love, love, love if all of you would be prepared to join me on a journey with 6 sessions. Now, I'll throw this out to you in a minute. Do we want to do it together, or do we want to do it independently? The thing is, if we do it independently, there's a element of trust and being gracious with one another when things are difficult. But I could just ask you how you're getting on with it, and maybe we set a timeline by which we want to do it. But anyone who's on youth team will know that if you want to be on the youth team, you've got to do a whole load of training for safeguarding, and if you want to be on the pastoral team, you've got to go through some safeguarding training and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's right that for us as a worship team, and sorry young people, but coming new into it, I think anyone joining the worship team, we should take them on that journey, because I think it's about that depth of, what does it mean to be part and parcel of the worship team? This isn't about simply playing our guitars or playing our drums. This is about something far greater. And so I bought the training by EMU Music, which is called Word in Song. And moving forward, you're all going to be set up with, some of you may have, well, actually I think all of you got an email from me this week, which so many people have been like, what on earth was that? I clicked on the link and it took me to the church website. I don't see no login. It was a mistake, is the short answer. It was an absolute mistake. It was me just trying something out. But basically, anyone been on the church website and actually dived into the apologetics resources that we put up there way back? Other than Daniel, thanks, mate. So what we're trying to do is put all the training in one place. And so what will happen moving forward is you'll be sent a little thing like you got this week. You click on it, you put in your name, your email, and then it gives you access to your zone, which will have the training all in. I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see, I can't show you on this because it doesn't work on tablet. Anyway, I'll talk about that a bit more at a later date. But basically, it's 6 sessions, and you go through. It starts with Bible reading, because of course it's Word in Song. So we're looking at it from a scriptural perspective, and then there's a video to watch and engage with. There's some reflections, and there's a bit of further on reading, and then you can move on to the next unit. So I really, really love it. I mean, first of all, put your hands up if you're thinking, really, like I've got to do training. Put your hand up if you're thinking, actually, I think this is a really good idea. Great, good. And when I'm talking to the techies as well, because we're one team, okay? And we're all aiding the church in its worship. So I think it'd be really important for us to go on there. Now, of course, some of us will be thinking, okay, well, it doesn't, the theology of the words may not apply. But actually, as you're looking at those words, and, on the morning, actually, it will serve you and aid you in your own worship. And actually, I can sometimes find, I don't know how it is for you guys, but being at the back is sometimes the most disconnected I feel from worship. And so to be able to actually engage with it in a new way would be really great. So I'll send you the link once it's set up. Daniel's on work experience this week, and that's one of his jobs. Thanks, Dan. So he'll be getting that all set up. So hands up if you would rather do that formally together, like over a 6-week program. Okay, cool. And put your hands up if you'd rather do it independently. Okay. Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So should we go, and how frequently? Would we rather say, let's do it over 6 months, and we do one a month, and we could even do it like one a month, we could even do it on a Sunday or whatever we think. I'll send out a doodle poll. And then if you're able to make one, you can make one, and if you can't, then we'll try and commit to doing it at some point throughout that month. Should we do it over a sort of 6-month period? I mean, I'd love to do it weekly, but I just know for life commitments that's not going to be doable. Okay, so we'll commit to that. Cool, where we can, and if not, then it's it's almost like if you miss a lecture at Moorlands, you would have to watch it back and then do a little write-up. I won't make you do the write-up. Okay, cool. Is that cool? So that they were the 2 big things I really wanted to share, because I think that enables us to go on a journey together, to really wrestle stuff out. We may come up against the questions around, the Hillsongs, the Bethel, and what do we do with ethical related issues and singing good theology. Just on that point as well, in me exploring that and finding that training, it took me back to EMU music, and I've been listening to a lot of it. And you may have even noticed on Sunday morning, the music in the house has changed. And those 6 songs that we had playing this morning were from EMU music. General places that I go to now, my go-to, City of Light, Sovereign Grace, and EMU music, because they're all singing straight out scripture, but they're also thinking about their arrangements. It's nice, it's got good musicality to it. So I just encourage you, be listening to, more of that stuff. And in the coming months as well, as you are listening to it, you're thinking, I really want to bring new stuff through, bring it my way. Let's be adding more in, so we can filter some out. Is that cool? Final thing. I've been talking about it for ages, and it's David Gray, who's actually not here as well today, who got me thinking about it again. He sent me and Martin a song a while back, didn't he, that he'd written out of Ephesians, and just asked us what do we think about it, and we sort of gave some feedback, and he went away and reflected on it and reworked it. I'd really love us to finally set a date to get together, anyone who's interested in songwriting, and bring those things together and enable that to be also a discussion around the theology of our songs and what we're writing, and to sharpen one another. So again, if you're interested in that from a point of view of writing, and I know I say Keith has written stuff as well. I wrote stuff, Martin's written stuff, Steve's written stuff. So if you're interested in that from a point of view of coming along and being involved and critiquing, adding and thinking about musicality, again, show of hands if you're interested in that. Cool. Okay, I'll throw a date somewhere amongst that 6 months as well for us to get together and just do that and bring some songs to the mix. Is that cool? Cool. I've chatted quite a lot. I've thrown a load of stuff your way. If you want to talk any of that through, hang back, chat to me. If you're on the AV team, I'd just like to show you what it looks like over there. We were hoping to launch it, worship tools, weren't we, on the first week of May. We may postpone it by a couple of weeks, or we might leave both on there. And so you can feel free on the morning to, I haven't quite got to grips with it, so I'll revert back to Pro Presenter. Is that cool? Good. I just want to throw it open. Any other comments, thoughts? Yeah, go on.
Just mission worship we used to go on.
Yeah, so we used to do mission worship, didn't we? And so I know in the past we explored it, and it was really far away at the last one, and how do we do it? And I think finance is an issue for some. I know it is for me, particularly when you've got 2 young people who want to go off to youth camp and stuff as well. So
when we used to go to mission worship every year, we used to pay our own accommodation, and the church would fund half of the ticket, which I think for a lot of folks made it doable. So.
And if I'm honest as well, the other issue for me, and it's solely for me, and I mentioned this a while back, I think when we were talking about last time, for me it's finding the time to go away. Weekends are precious. I'm often at work, Monday to Friday. I'm out most evenings. But I also see it as valuable and important to go to. And the reality is now my kids are getting a bit older, they probably want to come as well. So that's doable. Yep. Yeah. Well, it was the same when we went and did the, EME Music Day, the Word and Song Day. They're just valuable, and that's why I'd say, I really want to think about how do we do that regularly within our church context, but I think it's important that we get away to something as well. Yeah. Was it a vegan one, was it? Okay, yes, so that's great. And what I would say, just keep your ear to the ground if you're finding, and this goes beyond even, mission worship, but I think you're right. I think it's about time we go off and do something as a team together. It's kind of a new day, and now we've kind of got the rhythm again. It would be good to go, where possible. But, if there's other resources that are popping up, I sent one around the other day to the keyboardists around, just a little blog of, So if you're coming across those things, then just share them with one another. It's all helping shape and refine us. But, yeah. Does anyone know what the date is for mission worship? Because it's usually October, November time, isn't it? Yeah, because it was only online one year, wasn't it? So, okay, great. Yeah, so if you find it, just ping it across to me. It will be a reminder to me to look, and I can send it out to the whole team. It's great. Good. Any other comments, thoughts? 17th of November. Can you just ping me the link, Steve? It'll be a reminder. Can you just email me the link, and then it will remind me to look into it. Have you got a question, Daniel? Slightly unrelated. Is it just a completely Okay. Oh yes, which is why we want to get done. So let me pray, and then we can go on our way. Oh yeah, go on.
Obviously, Boscombe we didn't do today because of Phil's last preach, but have you all got the dates that they've asked us if we could supply music? Jackie, you've got it? I've got it. Okay, I'm going to send it out again to everybody. And all that happens is they will phone and say, can you do the date that we've given you? And sometimes I can't make it, or Johnny and Jackie can't make it. So we're reliant on, John Mitchell goes down regularly by himself. I know you can start coming, Jeannie. Martin? No, not you. I know why. But it's lovely. They really, really appreciate what we do for them. So if you can get on board with that, I'll send them out.
Thanks, Blonde. Does everyone know about that, Ginny? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's just about serving our brothers and sisters. Where, as I was praying earlier, we're a rich resource. They are struggling, but I tell you what, every time these guys go over, they're so blessed. I remember the time we went over, Colin, with your young boy. It was amazing. So yeah. So do that if you can. And Blondes is well aware. If we're left short here, we want to try and put here first. It is, but also if it means we're able to kind of keep it going here and we're stripped back here in order to serve there, let's try and do both where we can. Yeah, good. Let me pray, and then we can get on with the rest of our days. Thanks. Yeah, Heavenly Father, again, we just want to thank you for this time we've been able to have together as family, to come together, to hear one another, to share with one another. And Lord, just thank you so much for the way in which you've built this team over the years. Thank you for that attitude and that heart of wanting to be one in our worship of you. And Lord, you've heard all of those conversations, those challenges, whether it's in level in sound, getting the right sound level that blesses the room and doesn't hinder but actually enables and helps in worship. Lord, you've heard those areas of wrestle around in-ear system and all those things, but Lord, we just want to lay it all into your hands now. Lord, even this new software, and we just ask that you would, by your hands, bless all that we have planned to put in place. Lord, you say in your word that those who commit their plans to you, you cause them to succeed if they're of you. And Lord, I just pray that anything that's not of you, that it would fall away, and those things of you would really grow and flourish, that we would see fruit in our lives and in and through us to those that we're ministering to. Lord, we pray particularly for this training that we're hoping to go on. Lord, I pray that we would all be able to go on that adventure together, and Lord, that you'd really do work in us. Lord, that we become more than simply musicians, but we become worshippers of you, who worship you in spirit and truth. So Lord, as we go into the rest of the day, we just pray, keep our gaze firmly fixed on you. Lord, help us to be people who continue to worship you with our whole lives. Lord, in our households, with our wives, with our husbands, with our children, with our friends, with our neighbours. Help us to be those who minister and represent you in all that we do. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, thanks, guys. As I said, thank you so much for coming out, and particularly those of you who are here sort of since 8 o'clock this morning. If you're able to just grab a chair, put it away, chuck some cups in the kitchen, help with tidying up, I'd really appreciate that. Bless you guys. If you can't, you need to